between the AM and FM bands. On this edition, recorded March 19th. Chile, Cuba, Greece, Iran, Israel, Japan, Korea North, Madagascar, Malaysia, Nigeria, North America, Romania, Samoa, Scotland, Sweden, Tibet, Turkey, UK, USA, and the propagation outlook. Standard disclaimer, there's a low-power, presumably unlicensed station in Chile called RCW. It stands for Radio Compañía Worldwide. Hardly ever reported from North America, but it's reported from within Chile at least, and you might want to give it a try. It's on 7535. Claudio Galas in Chile reports it March 8th at 2349 with music. The IB list shows it could be on the air between 20 and 01 UT. As you may have heard, there was a total blackout in Cuba on March 16th due to the U.S. energy blockade. And of course, that meant operations on radio were even less reliable than usual. Radio Atlanta Cuba off the air, as well as the other stations. Many of us were trying to hear them and waiting to see when they would come back. Tony Pavick, NBC, says it appears the collapse of the power grid occurred after 14 UT, as I logged RHC on 11760 at that hour. And for a while longer, websites were still up, some with audio, some without, but that may have been because they were hosted outside Cuba. Marshall Reel in Maryland says the live stream from Radio Rebelde was active March 16th at 2200. Around 0210 UT, March 17th, I found no RHC frequencies, Rebelde, or CI relays. Due to the island-wide apagón, I don't usually have any clear signal there from Cuba on medium wave, but the most obvious absence was 530, Radio Encyclopedia, which is not an encyclopedia. By March 19th, when I checked at 1450, RHC was back on air with its usual total wastage of the watts, dead air only, on 11760, and with some wind howl on 15140. Also, I saw a report somewhere that big baseball championship game in Miami, which Venezuela won, was being carried both on Radio Rebelde and Radio Marti on 1180, with different announcers, of course. And DX fanzine Antonello Napolitano reports on 729 kHz. ERT Greece is back on the air. It had been missing for a while, but he says the power seems to be much lower than the 100 kilowatts which had been listed. During his absence, it was possible to DX Radio Kano from Nigeria and Cape Pulpit from South Africa. Mauro Riddle says 729 still carries ERT News Radio. Greg Hardison was hearing a Greek station on 1305 kilohertz via a remote and was wondering which one it is. Mauro Riddle says it's in Tripoli, Greece, and it's carrying the ERA Zeppelin network rather than news radio as before. Or rather, as in MWS, 1305 may be carrying either network depending on the time. Of course, there continues to be great interest in broadcasts from and Iran. Tarek Zaidan in Cairo says I picked up the Arabic section of IRRS with fair audio for a change on 11690. Around 09 UT. It used to be on 15135, but with no audio. It was not even on the air now. Idun's medium wave info has extensive news about the broadcasting scene in Iran. For example, Trigger Laszlo in Hungary reported on March 7th. After the bubble jammer switched off, I observed two regionals on 1548 kilohertz. It is VOA and Farsi. I heard the joint regional program with a slight echo, or at least two regional stations are working on it. Listed as Radio Haran Baran. Radio Iran was present too on 1548 under the mess. So there's a new method for jamming in Iran, moving regional stations to the desired frequency. Radio Ilam did the same. It moved to 1395 from 1044 kilohertz, causing interference on stations broadcasting from Armenia on 1395. On March 12th, Chris Greenway and Aylan informed us about additional BBC medium wave broadcasts to Iran, alongside the existing 702 from Oman and 1395 from Armenia. BBC has now added 720 from Cyprus and 1296 from Tajikistan for its Persian broadcast. On March 16th at 1452, I was getting a barely audible carrier on 15750.1. Iran International TV has been listed there via Bulgaria. However, since this was slightly off frequency, it might have been a jammer. In any event, by March 18th, Iran International TV had moved to 15730. Or at 1447, I was measuring about 80 hertz above that frequency, and with heavy bubble jamming when monitored via the remote in Holland. But back on March 12th, Terry Kruger in Florida reported Iran International TV moved via Bulgaria, measured on 15730.29. Alan Holder on the Isle of Man says the change to 15730 was first made on March 12th, and the other daytime frequency, 17900, is never blocked. Obviously, the Islamic Republic has only a limited number of jammers available, but Iran International seems to be more aggressively interfered with compared to Radio 4 Dal. The night frequency of Iran International TV, 5885, shifted to 5890.3, says Terry Kruger in Florida, March 14th at 0344, as tipped by David Crawford. In the British TX Club, Bill McDavid reported that another clandestine station, Radio Zaman Bidari via France, had a rare segment in English during their March 12th broadcast, introducing Reza Pahlavi as the person who will take over if the present Iranian regime falls apart. And he put a 4-minute recording of that at swlqslmuseum.com. As for the Farsi numbers station, Richard Langley says on 7842, March 15th at 1800, there was no bubble jamming. But on March 19th, the jamming started about 1858 and continued for about an hour. Then on the morning transmission at 0200 UT, 17 March, he did not notice any bubble jamming. On March 18th, Alan Holder on the Isle of Wight says the Iranian language number station was back on its original frequency, 7910, with no jamming. I wonder if they're alternating between those two frequencies. Jamming monitors are slow to find frequency changes. The A26 HFCC schedules are now available. They go into effect on March 29th. Stephen Luce says, checking the NHK listings, no transmissions listed via Issoudun, France anymore. Everything from Yamata, 0500 English to Africa, is gone.
From south of the Alps in northern Italy, you're in tune with IRRS shortwave. For further information on our broadcast schedule, you may visit us at www.nexus.org or call us on +39 02 266 6971.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm Mitch McCann with the Week in Review. The White House this week trying to reassure Americans as oil prices jumped to $118 a barrel on Thursday, nearly 3 weeks into the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. President Trump said that he would do whatever was necessary to ease the crisis.